Dear NCP colleagues, good morning to you all and welcome to the Horizon Europe State of Play webinar organized by the Agency for Mobility and EU programs as a part of Bridge to Horizon Europe project. My name is Ivan and I'm your host today. I hope you're all fine and that you're ready to learn something new or at least to repeat what you already know and maybe clarify any doubts. I would also like to express a warm welcome to Mr. Massimiliano Esposito from the European Commission. Thank you for your willingness and for your ability to be here today with us. And as you can see, we envisaged a simple concept for this webinar. We will have the presentation, Horizon Europe overview and the last updates. And after the presentation, a Q&A session via Slido application will take place. I would like to encourage you to participate and ask what is important to you. And to participate in this Slido Q&A session, go to slido.com and enter a PIN, hashtag 59924, and you're ready to go. Just to mention, this webinar will be recorded and recording as well as all the slides will be available. And before we move on to Mr. Esposito's presentation, just a few words about the Bridge to Horizon Europe project. The main objective of the project is to ensure the smooth transition between the two EU framework programs for research and innovation, Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. The project enables a degree of continuity to the current NCP structure and network coordination and makes real integration of NCP networks offer under a common Horizon Europe NCP portal. Within the project, numerous training activities for NCPs, brokerage events, proposal check events, NCP workshops for continuous improvement of the NCP system and different activities to push the low participant countries will be conducted. Also, building on those already developed in the previous NCP project, different tools and services for NCPs and applicants will be developed. And just to repeat once more, if you want to participate in Q&A session, and please do so, please go to slido.com, enter a PIN, hashtag 599924, and you're ready to go. You can use your smartphones, tablets, or desktop computers. I'm sure you're all familiar with Slido and capabilities of this application. You can type in your own question, or you can vote for those who are already entered. And that would be all from me for now. In case you have any questions of technical nature, please write to me in the chat and enjoy the webinar. Mr. Esposito, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. Thank you very much, Ivan, for this introduction and for having organized today this event together with all the national contact point. The presentation, as you already said, Ivan, the presentation today really aims to give an overview of the state of play of Horizon Europe. I introduce first, there are some of national contact points that are new, and I will give an overview of the objective of Horizon Europe, its structure, in particular also the novelties, and focusing in particular on what has been done in the first 6 months of the year, what has been achieved so far. Now, sincerely, I would have preferred to have a physical meeting like many of you, and also to be hosted directly by the agency in Zagreb. I can imagine in Croatia. Since 2 weeks here in Brussels, the weather has been a bit miserable, let me say, and it would have been a great opportunity to join you and all the colleagues in Zagreb today. But unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we really we have to do a webinar and to have this format of presentation. So I really hope that my presentation will help you to have a good overview and to coach you, to train you on the latest state of play, to make you the best ambassador, let's say, of Horizon Europe. Today, we are really facing important challenges, important difficulties. The Corona crisis has made really great difficulties, is challenging our society today, and has put research and innovation, science, really in the center of the policy making. So we have seen that thanks to research and innovation, to what has been invested in the last years in the medicine sector and in clinical trials and for the development, also the vaccination, is thanks to this research that today many people in our society get the vaccination. I got my vaccination just a few weeks ago. It's thanks to it that we are able to travel again. So the research innovation has become, especially in the last 2 years, in the center, the focus of the policy making. But the other challenges that Horizon Europe aims to address are the green and digital transition. We are aiming to a climate neutral continent by 2050, and we cannot reach this objective to be totally climate neutral if we don't develop breakthrough technologies that allow us really to be more green, to be more climate neutral. Then the digital transition. So we cannot reach this digital transition. It is also thanks to development, the research that has been so far in the sector that we are having a webinar today, and we are able to communicate it, to connect it digitally today. So it is thanks to research, thanks to science that all this progress has been done. And we really need to continue our investment in order to accompany the digital transition. So we need, for example, investment in quantum, in artificial intelligence. So these are the main objectives of Horizon Europe, really to address the main challenges of today's. So I will share my screen in order to give you the overview of the presentation and some slide. Just 1 second. Okay. So okay. So I hope that you can see my slide.
Yes, we can see.
Thank you, Ivan, for confirming that everything is fine. So, but I cannot. Yes, I go to the second slide. Yes. Here, the budget of Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe is the most ambitious program. The budget is the highest budget of the research framework program that has been financed by the European Union. So this really indicates that the political agreement that was reached in last year in 2020 in December indicated an overall budget of 95.5 billion euro. It represents an increase of 30% with respect to the previous Horizon 2020 program, framework program. So this indicates really how the importance of research and innovation, or investing in science in this time of economic downturn for both at the European level, but also for member states. So really indicated the importance that we have to invest in research and innovation. Moreover, the next generation Europe, that is the program that has been, the initiative that has been agreed by the Parliament and the Council of Member States for the recovery from the crisis, from the COVID crisis, the Horizon Europe program will receive 5.4 billion euro from the next generation Europe program. So in particular, in specific area that are in the cluster 1 of the Pillar 2, health, also in digital, and the cluster 5. We will see in the next slide the main structure of the program. Now, I think most of you are familiar with this structure of the program. There are 3 main pillars that reflect, that are really based to the success, based on the successes that have been reached in Horizon 2020 program. So we have the Pillar 1, excellent science. Pillar 2, global challenges, European industrial competitiveness. In Pillar 3, the innovative Europe. And then there is also an horizontal area that is the widening participation, spreading excellence, and reforming, enhancing the European R&I systems. So excellent science, the first pillar. It is the first pillar that actually doesn't change much respect in terms of content with respect to Horizon 2020, but there is a significant increase of the budget. The overall budget is around 25 billion euro, and it is a split 16 billion euro for the European Research Council, which aim really to, is the instrument which aim to finance frontier research, the best research teams in Europe and also in the third countries. The Marie Curie action with a budget of 6.6 billion euros, so really to finance, to promote the mobility of all the researchers and to promote all research fellowships in Europe and abroad. And then a research infrastructure with a budget of 2.4 billion euro. Now, the European Research Council is really the instrument that finances the excellent research, frontier research in Europe. It has been established since 2007, and since then, it has funded around 9,500 top researchers at various stages of their careers, and around 70,000 postdocs, PhD students, the staff working in research. Now, the first work program for 2021 of the European Research Council has been published in February, on 22 February. So the calls have been already published then. Some have already, the first series of calls have been already concluded, expired in deadlines. And then we have also the Marie Curie action that is really promoting the mobility of research in Europe and in abroad. The COVID crisis really has highlighted once more the importance of the Union reliance on highly skilled research-based human capital. Since '96, the Marie Curie action is financing around, has supported around 65,000 research in Europe and beyond Europe. And then we have the last component of the Pillar 1, that is a research infrastructure with 2.4 billion euro. The second pillar, global challenges, European industrial competitiveness, is composed by, includes in particular 6 clusters. Its aim is really to boost research, collaborative research in key technology and promote solutions underpinning the EU policies and sustainable development goals. In fact, from the title of the cluster, it is clear that, so the first cluster is health, is promoting collaborative research in the health domain. And this is really the cluster particularly important, relevant in this time of recovery from the COVID crisis. So all the treatment, diagnosis, all the trials, medical trials, and the vaccine and so on. It's all the collaborative research that is financed through the cluster 1 of the Horizon, of Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe program. The second cluster aims to find research in culture, creativity, and inclusive societies. Then cluster 3, civil security for society. Then cluster 4, digital industry space. Cluster 5, climate, energy, mobility. And cluster 6, food, bioeconomy, natural resource, agriculture, and environment. And there is also an horizontal action, class in the pillar 2 of the pillar 2 of Horizon Europe provides also of funding to JRC, the Joint Research Center, and the non-nuclear direct action, with an overall budget of 1.9 billion euro. It is the pillar 2 of the program that is really mainly financing also the target, the climate target of Horizon Europe that has been agreed by the co-legislator. Horizon Europe will need to contribute with a 35% of its budget to the climate transition, so to the climate, to the green transition, to the climate change transition. So 35% of the spending of the overall Horizon Europe budget will be devoted to the climate transition. And it is really the pillar 2 that is mainly contributed, in particular the cluster 5 and cluster 6. Now, the third pillar of the program is European Innovative Europe, that is really promoting, stimulating market, creating breakthrough in the ecosystem for innovation. In Europe, we are excellent. In Europe, we are excellent in basic science. We have seen the European Research Council that has financed a lot of Nobel Prize, but we are really lagging behind in innovation, in market uptake, to make sure that the startup, the small medium enterprise, develop the product that can be sold on the market.
Please, the microphone is for.
Hello? Hello, do you hear?
Yes, we can hear you now. Your microphone was muted.
When,
for,
which level?
For about 30 seconds.
So have you seen the Innovative Europe? I don't know, I didn't have, for the Innovative, in this slide, I will repeat this slide or slide, please.
Okay. This slide.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize, I don't know for which reason the microphone were switched off. Okay, these are the aspect of of the digital environment, digital world. So the third pillar is Innovative Europe. It's aiming to finance market-creating breakthrough technology ecosystems. In Europe, we are very good to frontier research, to basic science. The European Research Council, as we have seen in the previous slide, has financed several Nobel Prizes. But Europe is lagging behind in innovative product. To really, the objective of this pillar is really to finance the startup, the small medium enterprise, to helping them in the market uptake of their products. So we have around 10.6 billion euro both for the European Innovation Council and the European Innovation Ecosystems. And then there are 3 billion euro for the European Institute of Innovation Technology, in particular for the financing of the KIC, the Knowledge and Innovation Communities. Now, in fact, one of the novelties of the Horizon Europe is the European Innovation Council. The European Innovation Council, which aims really to finance the small medium enterprise, to startups, in order to help the research, the innovators to create a product that can be sold on the market. It is really a bottom-up process, and there are two forms of financing, both via grants, normal grants, but also via, let's say, venture capital, basically acquiring the share, buying the share of these companies in order to invest in these companies to make them, to help them to the market uptake of their products. So this is the European Innovation Council. But let me now focus on another novelty of the Horizon Europe program, that are the missions. The missions are a new instrument, a portfolio of action which intended to have a really inspirational, bold objective that are, however, reachable and measurable. So, well, when we talk about the mission, why they are called missions, we really refer to the moonshot mission in the 60s, when Kennedy had really the idea the inspirational idea, objective to bring a man to the moon and to carry it back. So there has been really a decade in the 60s of investment, not only in research in the space sector, but in all different sectors, also in the medicines and so on, in order to reach this objective. We can do a similar consideration, a similar analysis for the mission. The missions in the Horizon Europe program really aim to reach bold and inspirational objective, and they are anchored in research and innovation, but it's not exclusive only research and innovation. So they really have to be spread and they need to have the support from different type of policies on sector or programs, other EU programs, but also programs at national level. Now, the co-legislator have identified 5 mission areas. One, cancer, which has really the objective to really to develop diagnosis as the overall objective of saving 3 million lives by 2030. So to develop all the both the diagnosis, all the preventive measures in order to fight cancer. And then there are other 4 missions that are related to climate objective. So one mission on the adaptation to climate change, including societal transformation. The mission on the oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters. So to make the inland, the oceans and the water, the European healthy oceans, healthy oceans. Climate neutral smart cities. It's really aiming to have by 2030 100 climate neutral smart city in Europe, in the continent. A soil, health and food that which aim to get 75% of healthy food, healthy soil in food in Europe. Now, a few slides on the European Partnership. The European Partnership are not a novelty. They were already in the previous program. But let's say that there has been a process of preparation, rationalization, or harmonization of the partnership in Horizon Europe. So in this last 2 years, that has really has been a process of rationalization. We can see the 3 types of partnership: the programmed, that are based on a memorandum understanding, a contractual arrangement between the partners; the co-funded, based on a joint program implemented by the partnership; and the institutionalized partnership that are based on the Article 185, 187 on the treaty. In the Commission made a proposal on a single basic act, so the single act that is the legal base for institutional partnership, institutionalized partnership, and this single basic act is currently under negotiation with the member states and the Council and the Parliament. Now, I've talked about rationalization, basically from around 120 partnership in Horizon 2020, we have now in Horizon Europe 49 candidate to European partnership. And these are the European partnership. These slides perhaps is a bit difficult to read, but it's really the list of the European partnership. Mostly are in the second pillar, global challenges to European industrial competitiveness, in the cluster 1, health. Cluster 4, digital industry space. So we can see the key digital technology, photonics, artificial intelligence, data, robotics, just for mentioning a few. Cluster 5, climate, energy, mobility, clean hydrogen, clean aviation. Cluster 6 on food, bioeconomy, agriculture, so rescuing biodiversity and climate neutral sustainable productivities. And then there are in pillar 3, the EIT KIC, the knowledge and innovation communities. So basically are mainly in cluster 2 and cluster 3. Now, another novelty of Horizon Europe program is the programming, how we program Horizon Europe. Basically, the main approach is that we are aiming to giving a directionality, a direction to the programmation of Horizon Europe. So we start from the challenges. I have at the beginning of the presentation, I have presented the challenges, the priority, the big challenges, the recovery, the resilience of the society, the climate and digital transition. And these are translated in key strategic orientation. In fact, in the strategic planning, in the strategic plan that the Commission has adopted in March this year, on 15 March, the strategic planning defines the 4 key strategic orientation. So we have the first strategic orientation, which aims to promote an open strategic autonomy by leading the development of key digital enabling and emerging technology. The second is focusing on restoring the Europe ecosystem and biodiversity. The third one, making Europe the first digitally enabled circular climate neutral sustainable economy. And the fourth one, that is more linked also to the current situation, creating a more resilient and inclusive democratic European society. So really these four key strategic orientation then are the strategic orientation that drive the programmation of Horizon Europe, and has been translated, they have been translated in 32 expected impact that we can find, which drive the work program that have been published. So we really want through this strategic planning process, it has been a process really that lasted for 2 years in co-creation within the Commission, but also in co-design together with the member states, with the stakeholders in different events on the research and innovation days that have been organized. So it is really the long process of the consultation, but also design and co-creation together, which has led to the identification of this key strategic orientation and also of the 32 expected impact that drive the programming that is defined, the priorities that are defined in the work program. Now, this allows me really to give you an overview of where we are now. I have just already indicated, first of all, in chronologic terms, on the 22nd February, there's been a publication of the European Research Council. On the 15th March, the Commission has published the strategic plan with the 4 key strategic orientation and expected impact, which drive the programmation phase. Then the European Innovation Council has been published around the work program. The first work program in 2021 has been published on the 17th of March. Then we had the first work program on the variants, Horizon Europe work program on the variants, COVID variants, that has been published on the 31st of March. And then lately on the 16th of June, we had the main Horizon Europe work program with the publication of the calls that have started on the 22nd of June. So the main work program covers a different part of the Horizon Europe. First of all, in Pillar 1, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action and Research Infrastructure, all 6 clusters of Pillar 2, the European Innovation Ecosystem of Pillar 3, and the widening participation in spreading excellence. They are, I think now they are concluded. Some of you have been really involved in the info days that have been organized in the first 2 weeks of July. And then the main work program for 21-22 is made up of 13 parts. There is an introduction, 11 parts that cover the ones that I have indicated before. And there are the general annexes, which are really set out the rules which apply across the work program. What are the admissibility conditions, the eligibility criteria, the selection, and the award criteria. The overall main work program 21-22 has an overall budget of 14.5 billion euro for the 2 years, 21-22, and it really covers contributes to the EU priority and on the key strategic orientation. And it is the main contributor to the 35% target, climate objective, but it also supports the digital transition. It fosters research and innovation to make Europe a digital continent, and also direct investment on next generation EU. In particular, there are actions that are financed by the next generation EU, in particular on cluster 1, health, cluster 4 digital industry space, and cluster 5 mobility and energy, climate mobility and energy. So I think that, yes, this is the final slide on my presentation. I hope that I've been an overall exhaustive an overall giving you an overview of the state of play of the program. I indicated the work programs that have been that have been published so far, the calls, and really I hope that this information are sufficient for you to become the best ambassador for your role as a national contact point, as ambassador of Horizon Europe. Now I'm available for all the questions. Thank you very much. I stop to share my presentation and I leave to you, Ivan, the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Okay, we will share the Q&A session. We have a slide. We have a few questions. Okay.
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 I can read. I can read. I can read. I'm reading some of these questions. So, could you please clarify the status of the UK and the Switzerland in Horizon Europe program? Let me say that like Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe is also open to all international cooperation on 30 countries, and is also open to the association of some of the third country to the program. Now, this is really the phase. Let's remember that this phase of exploratory talks of negotiation with the country in the association could start only after the formal legal base adoption of the legal base of Horizon Europe. The adoption of Horizon Europe was on the 12th May this year. So since 12th May, we have started these talks for the association to Horizon Europe. Now, what is the situation with the UK? In December, the trade cooperation agreement with the UK was signed in December, and in this agreement there was already also included a draft protocol which indicated the participation, which confirmed the participation of UK to some European program like Horizon Europe and also Copernicus, ITER and other program. Now, this we are in the phase now of negotiation of this draft protocol. There is a need to finalize this negotiation, the finalization of this protocol in order to formalize this association. So as long as this protocol is not adopted, so the association cannot be finally formalized. We are following all internal procedure in order to finalize this process in order to finalize the adoption of this protocol. In the meantime, the transitional arrangements are foreseen to allow the UK to apply in the first calls of a proposal opening in Horizon Europe. So there are transitional arrangements for which the UK participants can apply in the first call for a proposal. The situation for Switzerland, the situation in Switzerland is a bit more delicate because Switzerland since the end of May, there was the Swiss decision to interrupt the negotiations in the institutional framework agreement. So the institutional framework, it's the overall framework that EU and Switzerland signed together. So these talks have been interrupted since this decision, the unilateral decision that has been taken by Switzerland. So it is not possible to consider a new financial relationship with Switzerland as long as Switzerland is not paying its financial contribution to EU cohesion policy. The latest payment of Switzerland is back to, on the cohesion policy, is back to 2012. And so, for this reason, the explanatory talks, exploratory talks with Switzerland are on hold on this for the time being. It is important that to say that in the Horizon Europe regulation, there are the new rules apply for the participation of third country to the next generation EU program, and also in Horizon Europe. In these new rules, in this new framework, it is important that with the country in question, Switzerland, an overall agreement is signed, is adopted, where the condition and the modality for Switzerland participation will be clarified. So we need an overall overarching agreement between EU and the Switzerland before going in defining the association of Switzerland in the Horizon Europe. So we will take into account the development and the prospect of the EU-Swiss relationship in the context of the overall EU negotiation. So for the time being, the Switzerland can participate not as a candidate associated country, but as a third country. So I hope that I've been clear in my reply. INCO, restrictive measure to apply to China, not eligible to participate in any capacity in Horizon Europe, Horizon, how to address China topics. No, I think I really would like to invite you to really to read a bit more careful to program guide. There are not there are specific topics. Let me specify that Horizon Europe is open to all 30 countries, including China. So it has been a quite long process in the Commission. This is the reason why the program has been published. This is the reason why the program has been published in June with a little delay, because there have been a long negotiation to define 49 topics, only 49 topics among thousands of the work program topics, in which there is the restriction to the participation of international partners that is possible thanks to the Article 22.5 of the Horizon Europe regulation. The Horizon Europe regulation allows to limit the participation to member states or to associated countries for specific in those sensitive topics and so sensitive matters that can affect the strategic autonomy, the security, the strategic autonomy of the Europe. So there are specific topics, and so you need to check the eligibility condition for these topics, in which China and other countries, there is a limitation for entities from China and other countries, but this only covers 49 topics, not the 1,000 topics that are in the work program. So is a gender equality plan for research public institutions? I think yes, there is a mandatory in an overall the gender equality plan. It's important and it has a specific relevance for the topics of the program, and all institutions and all participants, including also the non-research public institution, will need to provide really the gender equality plan. So to what extent Horizon Europe can support the participation of industry and SME in IPCEI project? So IPCEI project are an important project of common European interest. This is a label that has introduced in line with the state aid rules. And yes, the Horizon Europe, with all the collaborative research for all proposal, collaborative in all parts of the program, in particular on Pillar 2, facilitate, but also the Pillar 3, the European Innovation Council, facilitate the participation of industry and SME. Now, for the IPCEI project in particular, yes, you have to see the specific topics that are relevant for the IPC project, for example, clean hydrogen or the, clean batteries and so on. But it is important to make a consideration. The Horizon Europe favor the participation of industries, SME in APC project, but this doesn't mean that these topics of this project will not follow all the procedure, selection procedure that are foreseen in the context of the application. So the IPCEI label doesn't provide a guarantee that the program or the project specific will be funded. That all the topics, all the project will need to follow the evaluation process, and following the evaluation process, so it can be financed or not. So the reply to the question is yes. With all the components part of Horizon Europe, it favored the participation of industry SME in IPCEI project, but in line with the Horizon Europe rules that are so the conditions that are indicated in the evaluation and award process that are indicated in Horizon Europe. Okay, then there is another question. Is there a mobility, is there a modality to support young university and research to develop research capability? Yes, I would refer in particular to the participation of young universities, researchers, to the Pillar 2. Okay, Pillar 1, funds in particular excellence, but the research capability is mainly developed, mainly favored and financed in the across Pillar 2, also in the widening area. So teams in young university can join and thereby also transfer knowledge and competencies from the established teams. This Horizon Europe so give the opportunity to the young researcher to develop research capability in the collaborative research that is in particular in Pillar 2. But we need also to take into account that this competence of research capability can also be favored and financed with the other programs, like, for example, cohesion funds, or also social funds. For example, the skills can be covered by social funds. So I hope that I have addressed all the questions. Ivan, please let me know if there are other questions.